You're listening to Sox in the Basement, a production of the Broadcast Basement Limited, where every show is 30 minutes of good and comes from a basement bar on the south side of Chicago. Pull up a stool, pour a cold one, and join us right now for Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at soxinthebasement.com. Before we get into the show, I keep looking at this festival, this bourbon festival down in Louisville, and it's got like every band I ever wanted to see.
Really?
And they're all playing in the same place for like 4 days. And the tickets are expensive, and I'd have to go and get a hotel. And I'm looking at it wondering, like, do I want to go to this thing? Because none of my friends can get away and do this. Like, you can't get away for 4 days in September, can you? To go to Louisville and drink bourbon with me and watch bands play?
I probably not.
You have children, right?
Yeah.
Like your wife is going to let you do that, right?
No, yeah, that's a tall ask in some ways.
Yeah, nobody's going to let you go with me to go down to Louisville and drink for 4 days and watch bands. And so, like, I'm looking at it and I'm wondering to myself, it's like now a divorced, single, 47-year-old man who will be 48 at the time. My kids are older, and the littlest guy spends every other week with his mother while the other two ones live with me, but they're old enough to take care of themselves, and one of them will be in college. I can get away whenever I want to. Am I going to be that guy? Like, is that my new thing now? That I'm just like single dad with a backpack at a festival for 4 days? Like, I kind of want to do it. Am I crazy?
No, I think you might be that guy. I think the question is it going to be cargo shorts and sandals? Is it going to be, I don't know. Are you going to be full on single dad mode, or are you going to clean yourself up if you do this and be swinging single, man in his prime?
I mean, look, I'm going to be swinging single,
or
man. Or
are you just going to be sloppy drunk and
no,
be giving a bunch of us a call like, hey, my wallet is completely gone, as are most of my clothes. I'm stuck in Louisville.
These are questions, I guess, that need answers.
Yeah, well, there may be only one way to find out, too, so.
But because of my daughter, I've become a big Noah Khan fan. He's going to be there. Lumineers, I love the Lumineers.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go see them, right? Okay, Cage the Elephant's going to be there. I like them. The Goo Goo Dolls are going to be at this thing.
All right.
Nathaniel Ratecliffe and the Night Sweats.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is what, like, I have a record player down here at the bar that gets played more than any other album, his albums. Like, that, I want to go see him live so bad. Third Eye Blind's going to be there. I could punch Stephen Jenkins in the face again.
Oh, for all time's sake.
It's been 25 years.
Yeah.
Maybe I could punch him again in the face. We got, who else is going to be there? Foreigner's going to be there. Like, the list is crazy. Like, Fish is going to be at this. It's 4 days.
Well, Fish is actually going to play all 4 days, but only 2 songs.
Jack White is going to be there. Like, there's so many people. The Spin Doctors are going to be there.
Oh, wow.
10,000 Maniacs is going to be there.
Wow. I assume that's without Natalie Merchant.
Collective Soul is going to be there, Ed. Collective Soul. I'm a huge
heavy.
Collective Soul fan. So, like, I'm wondering, am I that guy who goes down there? And I don't want to take up any more of the show. This is stuff that we'll contemplate on Southside Pod, which has made its triumphant return to the Broadcast Basement On Demand Radio Network. The guys are coming over this weekend to join me down here at the 9-Foot Homemade Oak Bar, and we're going to have an awful lot of fun with that show. So if you were a fan of that show and you left it because it was gone in the summertime, it comes back. It's all video. It should be a blast. And speaking of video, we are going to flip the video as well on YouTube.
Yes.
Starting next episode. That's the plan. Because Ed, because of the heart attack, has not been able to sit down here at the bar. So we're using video to talk to each other. And I'm like, this makes no sense. We should be showing people. So we're going to start putting the video up on YouTube. So there'll still be the audio show on the feed, and the YouTube channel is going to go video. And if it works, we'll keep that as a permanent thing and maybe expand off of that. So those are two things that are going on. Meanwhile, the White Sox are in the middle of spring training. I would like to see them add another player. I kind of want to start off with this idea right off the bat. They have, at this point, the Chicago White Sox, a $62 million payroll, according to SpotTrack. And SpotTrack believes, after all the pre-arb things, which are these very small contracts, less than $1 million, that go to the pre-arbitration players that are on the team, they should settle at just under $75 million. Now, I remember when the offseason started, I said they should be at $100 million, no less than 90, and that's a massive cut to their payroll. They're looking at $75 million, being in the bottom 3. Maybe they get up to the bottom 5, but probably the bottom 3 of all of Major League Baseball. And you should have enough room at this point to go out and get a guy who can't find a seat as the music is ending and spring training is underway. Because there are free agents out there right now who couldn't find a chair, and they're not bad. And they may be somebody you can flip at the deadline. Don't tell me that you don't have room on your team for Anthony Rizzo to come back, and if he has a good first half, you wouldn't get good prospects for him. And you could afford him sitting at $75 million on your payroll. You could give him a deal. Don't tell me that you don't have the money at this point to go out and get an Alex Verdugo, who we've talked about before would play well in that ballpark, put up some nice numbers, and they finally solved the thing that was bothering him, which was his hands would break out in hives because of the material of the batting gloves. So you just have to change the material and get him out of New York. And you may see something there that translates into prospects at the deadline, and you have money you could still spend and still justify that in a rebuild year. This team needs to be more forward thinking. They have to look at it as how much money would we spend to get a top 100 prospect at the deadline? Because that's what it really is. Is it worth it to spend money to bring in a guy when you have plenty of space on your team, plenty of space on your roster? You really don't even know who your designated hitter is, right? And you can make room. If there's a prospect that's good enough, he's going to take a job. So don't give me this, you're blocking one of the young guys. That's bull. If a guy's good enough, he's going to get the job. That's how it should be. There should be competition. So don't tell me you can't add one more bat and spend 10 to up to 15 million and still come in under a $90 million payroll. And under a $90 million payroll still would put you probably in the bottom 5 to 7 teams in baseball. And you won't even pay for the entire thing because when you flip this player at the deadline, you've spent, I don't know, half of that. Let's say you spend $8 million before you flip him. So it's going to cost you about $8 million or so. This is a reasonable bet. This is one of those ones that's not high risk. This is a reasonable bet. You bring in a professional baseball player that has a high enough ceiling that he can be flipped at the deadline if he has a good first half. And he's playing in a no pressure spot in a hitter friendly ballpark. And you go bring that player in and he's good. Would you give $8 million for a top 100 prospect right now because you're trying to rebuild? I think Chris Getz would. Can he get Jerry Reinsdorf to pay it?
Well, and I'll even flip the switch on something like that too. In the case of like an Alex Verdugo, who's a guy that's under 30, okay, in theory should have a lot of baseball left in him, has a high pedigree. Would you consider giving him a prove-it deal and then sitting there saying that because this is a guy that if it works out and he likes it here and we like him, we're going to keep him on this roster over the next few years because I don't care what you say about any rebuild, and I don't care what kind of a prospect head or hound you are. I don't care what you say about giving young guys opportunities. You never, ever, ever have enough young guys to fill out the full roster. You need free agents. You need some established ball players. You need to bring in some guys from the outside. You're never going to fully build from within. No team does. None. You cannot name me a single franchise that has filled their roster year after year with guys that are homegrown talent or guys that they have traded for or whatever. It just doesn't happen. So at some point, and I hate the philosophy because if this is what Getz is doing, it's what Han and what Kenny promised us too. I hate the philosophy that you establish your core of guys that you've brought up either through trades or draft or whatever from the minor leagues, and then you go out and you fill in the free agents. No. What you do is you start bringing guys in as they become available that you think you can get within your budget that you think you might want to be able to invest around and give an opportunity to. And if they're willing to take that chance on being a member of the Chicago White Sox during a rebuild, and like you said, Verdugo, there's no pressure on him. He can get back to playing baseball. He can get back to just, if it really is the batting gloves, it was bothering his hands, and that's a huge deal. If your hands don't feel right on a baseball bat, you're not going to be very good. But if he becomes a guy that you sit there and you go, hey, we're way more comfortable with him out in left field than we ever were with Andrew Benintendi. Benintendi's contract is movable, okay? You don't have to suck half of Benintendi's contract dry just to get him moved for prospects. He's a guy that a team might look at and go, yeah, you know what? We need some left field help for the next couple of years. We know he's under contract. It's fine, okay? So I'm a little curious as to why the mindset remains with any team that's rebuilding, but with the White Sox in particular, why is the mindset so far been, Well, we got to give the young guys an opportunity to prove it before we go out and fill in with some veterans. Because I agree with you. Like a guy like Anthony Rizzo's got value, okay? Rizzo has been long known as a guy that's really good for clubhouses, right?
Exactly. Just like Hyatt Home Medical Equipment is known for keeping mom and dad, grandma and grandpa out of assisted living, switch to a new age of life with Hyatt. Make it so they can get around on their own and live independently with stair lifts, ramps, grab bars, lift chairs, and even bathroom remodeling. They work with insurance, have 0% financing for qualified individuals. And if you're unhappy with your CPAP machine vendor, switch now, get supplies directly mailed to you. They also have the latest and greatest in continuous glucose monitors. Hyatt Home Medical Equipment has everything you need. Learn all about them at hhme.com. But Ed, why not have a fully tradable outfield? Think about this.
Why not?
If Benintendi reverts back to form and you want to clear that money because you know your owner
have
wants
Benintendi DH because he's a terrible fielder.
Well, he's going to DH. Like if you actually look at what Will Venable said this week, they intend to have him in the middle of the order and playing every day, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the outfield, which means, to me, was telegraphing he sucks in the outfield. We're not going to fully take him out of there because it's not like we're trying to win a pennant, and we don't want to crush his spirit or anything like that. Like there's no reason to have a fight with the player over it. But we're explaining to him that we have a plan in which we're going to get you in the lineup all the time and you're going to be a focal point. But to keep you fresh, you're going to DH sometimes. You're going to play the field. That's how that sounded to me. But think about this. You have a Benintendi who, if he rebounds, is a trade chip. You have a Luis Robert Jr., who I guess sat down with his agent, Scott Boras, and asked, why do they want to trade me? And Scott Boras said, we want them to trade you. In fact, we want them to not even pick up the option. We want you to have a good year. We want them to screw it up. Like you have Luis Robert Jr. under contract and the ability to keep him for the next 2 years. He shouldn't worry about anything like he is this week and should just go out and be healthy and play well. And then the White Sox will end up dealing him because they will say, now we're getting the value that we want for you. Or if he plays to a level where they're like, we want to keep him for one more year at $20 million, they have the option to do that. But he doesn't really have any options. Like that's a Boras smoke and mirror thing. Oh, look at the options my guy has. No, he's got no options. Go play baseball well, you'll get paid. Go play baseball well, you might get moved. But he's movable. Benintendi's movable. Tauchman might be movable.
Tauchman is probably movable.
Imagine if you got a Rizzo or a Verdugo also in the mix. Not all of them will have great seasons. But at the trade deadline, you will move one or two of them before the trade deadline. And you're going to get money back on your investment. Hedge your bets a little bit. You've got guys out there that may take a deal now they would have never considered a couple of months ago. And you're essentially paying them money to give yourself a better chance at having top 100 prospects. At the deadline, when you go out, you go and you make your deal. To me, it's a no-brainer. You have the room. I don't think it's going to break the bank. You still have a massive salary reduction, and you're going to move some of these guys before the season's over. They won't end up spending at this point $75 million because some of this salary is going to get moved off the team before they have to pay those salaries throughout the entire course of the year. I bet you they come in at something like $60 million. $65 million is all they end up spending on their players this year after guys get moved before the deadline. So you can go out and get another player, bring him in and continue to give yourself more and more capital to get guys during the season to continue to make your rebuild work. And like you said, Verdugo's 29 years old. He's not the guy you have to necessarily go get. I'm not like, you got to go get this guy. He's great. I mean, he's a little bit above replacement level by a couple of wins above replacement. He's an above average OPS most of the time when he's out there. He may hit you 12 to 15 home runs. You know, not everybody likes his personality, but he's a piece. And you may find a guy it's 29 years old who performed better when he wasn't in New York, come to a place like Chicago, figure out the whole batting gloves thing, and you might sit there and say, okay, we moved Benintendi, we moved Robert, we kind of like Verdugo, we're going to actually keep him around. And you're building a team, and you're not really getting in the way of your prospects. It seems like a no-brainer. I just don't know if the owner would get on board or if the front office is even thinking about it. I hope they're thinking about it, Ed.
Well, and that's my point is at some point, and I'm not saying it's Alex Verdugo by any stretch of the imagination. I picked on him versus Rizzo because those are the two names you picked. And
Whit Merrifield's still out there. Brendan Rodgers is still out there. Like there's a couple of guys that you could probably flip at the deadline. That, I mean, like up until the Cubs got him, Justin Turner was out there. That would have been a guy you could have grabbed and flipped.
Right. But some of these guys are old, right? Merrifield, Turner, Rizzo, these are 1-year guys. I don't care who is signing them, contender or non-contender.
Verdugo has a chance of sticking around. He gives you more flexibility.
Brendan Rodgers is the same kind of a thing. If you're talking about a guy that you might have for 3 or 4 years, okay? I'm not talking about, and that's the other thing too, is we kind of this mindset as White Sox fans that like, you're looking at like, well, you want to keep a guy for like 10, 20 years. I don't know that those days are realistic anymore unless it's like an absolute superstar where you have the kind of team where you're just going to constantly build around that. I mean, it'd be lovely to have Luis Robert Jr. play at a superstar level and be a member of the White Sox for life, like he said, but it's not likely going to happen because
it doesn't even seem to be in their plans.
No,
that's the thing. As a fan, have accepted the idea that the front office thinks this rebuild will take too long to justify spending $20 million a year in the 2 seasons after this one for Luis Robert Jr., and they'd rather get the capital to get younger because they know he won't resign in those years, and they're trying to build long term. I may not necessarily enjoy that or like it or be sure if it's the right plan, but I think that's what they're doing. I'm pretty convinced of that now.
Right, but my point is that there's very few players these days that will sit with a team for the lifetime of their major league career. I mean, even Mike Trout, you kind of look at it and you go, okay, he's been an Angel this whole time. Now that he's breaking down, how much longer are the Angels going to keep him around? If they get an
I love
opportunity?
him saying he's moving to right field. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
It was like Mike Trout looked around and said, this is a clown organization. I'm not hurting myself anymore. Put me in right.
Yeah, put me out there where I don't have to do quite as much. Where I can
watch the dandelions grow. Put me in right field.
It's a perfect situation for him. But, there's something to be said here about a balance. And I understand the point of a rebuild. And I'm not underselling the idea that the White Sox have to find superstars from within, and their star players are going to come from good drafting, crafty trades when you're getting prospects, developing these prospects when you get them. That's how you build the stars of your team. If you're not going to go out and buy them, if you're not going to be able to afford Juan Soto when he hits the market. But you also, there's nothing that sits there and says, and I would hope that this is the last offseason that this happens, okay? There's nothing to me that says that the White Sox have to continue to sign leftover scrap heap guys to prove it contracts just to fill out the roster every year. It would be nice to see them sit there and say, okay, here's a reasonably priced, good player, maybe just a replacement level guy, maybe just above replacement level, not a star, fills a need. We have prospects behind him that may or may not pan out. We're not entirely sure, but we want to have this position taken care of because this is a weakness within our organization and have that sort of self-awareness. I think the outfield is one of those situations, right? As we're talking about building a tradable outfield, part of it is that when you look at what's coming up, we have Oscar Colas, who's probably getting his last chance. Dominic Fletcher, who's probably getting his last chance. Zach DeLoach was already DFA'd, right? We haven't heard from Cespedes since he was hyped. There's not a lot of, it's not like the White Sox have 5 outfielders that are just sitting down at AAA and AA waiting desperately to come up here. We've got some guys that are in the pipeline that might work out, but it's going to be a few years. So why not have at least one outfielder that you're going to sit there and say, we're going to keep for a few years, right? And not have it be a Luis Robert Jr., who, to your point, it is a tough situation to sit there and pay someone $20 million when you're not going to be in a competitive window.
And the GM doesn't believe that he can stay healthy.
And that's part of it,
that's being
too.
telegraphed here. Chris Getz watched this long enough. I think that internally there's a belief that, he's not durable enough. And if we could just get him to come out red hot, somebody will give us something for him. And when we get the right deal, we're going to move on from him. And all this other stuff is just a weird distraction. People are asking him like, oh, are you worried about being traded? Who cares? Who cares if he's worried? I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I sound heartless. He went out and got a super agent who holds teams up and doesn't sign extensions generally. And he went out and got a super agent who does that, who also tries his hardest to get guys out of option years if he can get more money. Don't act like Luis Robert Jr. is a babe in the woods who doesn't know that getting Scott Boras is a way to get the most amount of money possible for himself. Please. Stop it. Well, he didn't understand why he knows why they're trying to move him. He's not an idiot. Why are we treating him like an idiot? He knows. That's why he went and got that agent. But in the end, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he wants. Doesn't matter what Boras wants. In the end, it's Chris Getz's choice. Unless his owner says, I really don't want this money. You got to get rid of this guy. It's Getz's choice. And if he wants to, he can keep him for 2 more years at $20 million a year after this season. He can get rid of him after the first time that he picks up the option. He can get rid of him after this season, or he can try to move him. But it's his choice. Doesn't matter what Robert thinks. So I always find that really funny when you're asking the question, like, well, what do you think, Luis? He doesn't get a choice. He signed a deal.
It just doesn't matter.
He's in the deal. Right. And if he really wants to maximize his dollars long term, he'll go out and perform and not worry about it. If he goes out and performs, it shouldn't matter what jersey's on his back. He'll make the most amount of money. And don't tell me that playing for the White Sox is more important to Luis Robert Jr. than money when he switched agents and went to Scott Boras. Don't tell me that. You're delusional. Sox in the Basement listeners trying to make the most of your money. Give a call to Tom Walsh, your Edward Jones financial advisor. Located on the corner of 111th and Kedzie, but serving the Chicagoland area, Tom has a get-to-know-you approach and a do-the-right-thing attitude. He's been doing this for decades. It's all about knowing your options when you're investing and planning for your retirement. No matter what stage you are at, it costs nothing to check in with Tom. Give Tom Walsh, your Edward Jones financial advisor, a call today, 773-779-0023. Edward Jones, member SIPC. I want to ask you real quick, are you going to opening day? Because I want to go. I haven't gotten my tickets yet. And I'm still kind of holding out hope that somebody will reach out to me like, Chris, I listened to the show and I've got like these really great seats. Do you want to join us? Like I would just show up and sit with random strangers. Like I kind of,
that'd be the best way to do it, right?
I got club tickets, right? I'm in the guaranteed rate club. Do you want to come with
I've got
and entertain
seats,
us? And
yeah. There's a promotion that's going nowhere. Take Chris and Ed to the game.
Not you. Nobody wants both of us. Who wants to give up two? I'm just offering me.
I know. I'm saying you'll get the better seats. You'll give me the crappy ones when somebody comes.
Right. So what I'm saying is that if nobody does that, says, "Hey, I want to take Chris Lanudo to a game," I'm wondering if you want to go. And I'm looking at ticket prices right now, and it is kind of ridiculous. Like, I mean, you can get if you go up to the window, because I did this last year, and you pay in cash day of the game, you can buy that upper corner or the upper deck for like $7.
Right.
I did it. And you don't have to pay the Ticketmaster fees or anything else like that. And I keep wondering, could I walk up and save on the fees on opening day? Because there are a ton of seats available for opening day. A ton of them. I mean, most sections have seats available as I look at Ticketmaster right now for opening day. It's insane. And the prices are weird because that worst seat that I was talking about is actually $26 right now on Ticketmaster before the fees to sit up in the upper corner, which is crazy. Like if you stay in the upper deck, $32 seats as you get closer to being behind home plate. All right. And then you go down to the lower level, you're down the line, like way down the line where the outfield is, $75. If you're back around home plate, $88 a ticket right now. If you go out in the outfield, this is way overpriced. Like even the obscured view right next to the fan deck, $65 is the lowest ticket price.
Wow.
Like you actually lose things that are on the warning track on the other side of that. So the outfield's really overpriced. Like the 108, $58 a ticket to sit in the 108 behind a foul pole. So the pricing's weird. Like to me, I'm going upper tank and walking around the ballpark on opening day. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm enjoying the sights and the sounds. And I might even get to the bar halfway through it when it becomes a blowout or it gets out of hand. You know, again, you watch baseball differently when your team has no chance.
Well, yeah, that goes back to sort of the "it's better at the ballpark" slogan from last year. Really had nothing to do with watching baseball. It really just was like, hey, we have food and it's outside.
But I decided this year I don't want to do any events. Like I don't. No, like in previous years we do something down there. I kind of want to roam. Like I might even bring out the camera and the microphone, but I kind of want to roam. I kind of want to go to some of the tailgates. I kind of want to stop into some of the spots around there. I definitely stop over at Cork and Carry. I could see myself wanting to just soak in the entire thing, but not really worry about the price of my seat. You know, like not really worry about the location of my seat because I'm just going to get a cheap ticket. Like that's kind of how I'm looking at opening day right now.
It's kind of just walk into the ballpark and see what's what. I mean, the idea that you're going to sit in your seat and be glued to it for 9 innings when you know your team is not going to be terribly competitive is just, it's not why you go to the game anymore. Now it becomes a social event. Now it becomes a, check out what's new at the park when it's opening day.
Right. There are people going because they don't want to break their streak of going to opening day.
Yeah, which makes sense. I honestly, stuff like that, you get to that. And if you sit there and you say, hey, I've got a 20-year streak going, sometimes you look at that and you go, I don't know if I got 20 more years to do another streak like that. So.
And then I was also looking at the $125 like pass thing.
Right.
And which, I got to be honest with you, it's only 27 games, but they do this thing like all March, April, and May home games. Like March is like the last couple days of March. I find that really funny.
Yes, all like March home games, both of them.
but for $125, I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, well, you do get opening day.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
And I just said that the cheapest ticket on opening day is $26. So I'm paying $99 if they give me the one that's up in the corner. I'm paying $99 the rest of the way for the rest of the games, for the other 26 games. So then I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, okay, well, what do I get out of it, right? Like, I was like, what promotions am I getting out of it? All right, so let's see if this thing is valuable.
Okay.
Because I'm curious what you think. So you get opening day, and the first 20,000 fans are getting a plush blanket for the 125th anniversary of the White Sox.
Okay.
Right? And then the next day game, which you're definitely going to if you have this pass, right? A 1907 replica jersey. Like,
yes.
Right there.
Okay, there you go.
Like, I dig it. That's a good giveaway. I'm going to skip all the family Sundays and the things like that and just kind of like, let's find the next thing. April 12th, I'm getting the Red Sox, and I'm getting a 1920 jersey hoodie. I don't know about that. It's weird looking. Like at least the little cartoon thing on the website, it looks like a jersey, but the hoodie part of it, from where the sleeve would end on the jersey down to where your wrist is, that's a blue hoodie. And then there's a blue hoodie that pops out of it. That could look cool and that could look really dumb and you never wear it. Like, I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And yeah.
So I'm already into May, and those are the only promotions I'm really getting. Like, I'm getting Dog Day if I like to bring my dog out. But that's it. Like, those are the only promotions. There's a firework game on May 2nd. The Dick Allen bobblehead is May 3rd. Now that one's cool.
Yeah.
Even though we said this, they should have had a heater in his mouth, and it's only for the first 15,000 fans. So you're going that day to stand in line for 3 hours in the hopes that they put the right amount of boxes at the door for you. Because I've done that before. Like, you go for a promotion, you walk up, and it turns out gate 3 just didn't have enough boxes, but they're still giving them away at gate 2 for an hour.
Yeah.
Like, we've all seen that.
Yeah, that we've all had that pleasure.
You're rolling the dice. You're rolling the dice on that one, so you might get a Dick Allen bobblehead. You're going to get Star Wars Day on May the 4th. That's kind of fun. You're getting Harry Potter night later on. You got more fireworks on May 9th. That's my birthday. I get to go birthday game, Harry Potter night, DePaul night, post-game fireworks on May 9th, included in that. And then there's a varsity sweater 1940s logo on the 10th against the Marlins.
That one's kind of nice looking based on the little drawing.
It is kind of neat looking.
Yeah.
Like, it's very old-timey, right? Like, yeah, I could see myself talking old-timey the entire time. There is the Alliance.
Hey, look at that. Benintendi's DHing today.
Right, exactly. That's how you have to see that one. You should bring back Nancy and only do organ music.
Absolutely, 100%.
Like, you're missing the boat on that one. Nancy Faust should be back on May 10th. It's a Saturday, and she should be playing organ music while you're handing out the 1940 sweater. And if you're not doing that, you're really missing the boat, White Sox. We have a Illini night coming up on the 20th. I went to Illinois, so that's important to me.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
There's fireworks on the 23rd against the Rangers. There's a 1914 World Tour t-shirt that I do not think I would be excited about, but they're giving it away on the 24th. Then I get the Charles Comiskey bobblehead. I'm sorry, this is one of the dumbest promotions they're doing this year.
Okay.
You want me to be one of the first 7,500 fans. Think how cheap that is, too. It is perfect. Generally, a giveaway is 15,000, 20,000, but when they give out the Charles Comiskey bobblehead for another cheap owner that started this team, a guy who was ripping off his players so badly, they decided to throw the 1919 World Series because he wouldn't pay out their bonuses. Like, he forced the team that was a championship team to throw games so they could put food on the table because he was that cheap. And he treated them that badly. And then you're only giving out 7,500 of these things because you cheaped out on the amount of them.
Well, that's in keeping with the situation, though, isn't it? I mean,
it's poetic.
Come on.
It's poetic. on a Sunday afternoon where it's family Sunday and the place will probably have more people than they normally have because people bring their families on those days because the kids get to run the bases, right? And there's all these deals for kids. That's when you're giving that away. But that is part of it. And that is actually the last home game inside of that $125 last couple days of March, all of April, all of May promotion. So what do you think? Because I look at it and I say, there's going to be games there. I'm going to go out to the ballpark, but think of the money I'm going to spend when I go to the ballpark. Am I getting enough bang for my buck? And remember, even if they give me the worst ticket on opening day at $26, $99 is paying for the rest of those games. I found one or two promotions I liked, several of them that I probably won't get because a crowd's trying to get them. What do you think?
I mean, if you think about it in terms of all you have to do to recoup the money is go to 4 games, and then you've at least more than recouped the ticket cost. You're right. Now the question is, can you get away with going through the ballpark and going through it cheaply and, not spending a ton of money just to go and get these things?
I got to flask it. I got to have like one of those, like that's a problem, because otherwise I'm going to go, I'm going to drink, I'm going to eat. Like I got to be like one of those people that's got like extra pockets and I somehow make it through the machine.
Well, it'll be good practice. How I have to be. It'll be good practice for your solo trips to, bourbon festival concerts to have, all the cargo shorts with the various flasks and stuff in the linings and all the hidden things. This could just be practice for the rest of your life.
Let me tell you something right now. You're such an old white guy. Like, I'm not wearing cargo shorts till it gets warm. Like, most of my shorts aren't cargo shorts. You're like, oh, end of March, total cargo short weather. No, it's not.
I know, you just put them under the jeans so that you have the extra pockets inside.
Only old fat white guys wear cargo shorts at that point of the season.
And I've lost a lot of weight, so I'm not one of those guys anymore.
Socks in the basement. Socks in the basement. Socks in the basement.
Socks in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found and always on socksinthebasement.com.